Hello my bookhos, it is time to finally talk about lace again. Hello and welcome to Bookhoarding by Bianca. I'm Bianca and I like to talk about crafts, fashion, and nerdy stuff. Today's nerdery takes us to lace samplers. This video is really a long time coming for many of you because I think my top video is my lace video after my Bridgerton video. So thank you for waiting for this. I'm hoping that this can be a really good way for me to say, please learn lace making from someone who's been doing it longer, aka from this book that I'm going to be talking about today. I've had a bunch of people ask me to make tutorials, which I definitely want to do, but I am not a very experienced lace maker, and there's a lot of little finickiness about lace making that I don't feel confident in teaching other folks. I definitely do want to make time this year, hopefully this year, to do some really basic videos on cloth stitch and just like how do you set up your board and all those things. But in the meantime, this is a really good book to get you started. Beginner's Guide to Bobbin Lace by Gilian and Adrienne Thunder. It's from Search Press. I'd say check it out. Check out the intro, just like get accustomed to it, watch some videos of other people doing those first stitches, and then invest in some of the supplies. I do have a video about how to make certain things on a budget, but I'd say the big things are you do want to have your bobbins, like those aren't things that you can fake, and you do want to have different yarns. The way that the thread, aka the coordinate, however you say it, works for lace crafts is the smaller the number, the actually larger the yarn is, and the higher the number, the smaller the thread is. And because you're a beginner, you'd actually want to start with the bigger yarn. So trust this when it's like use Pearl 8 or whatever, or 8 Pearl Cotton. I use smaller because I do have smaller and I have done a little bit more lace work, but I'd say definitely follow this when it tells you to use certain things, because it is looking out for you here. This book is really great because it walks you through really basic stitches through bookmarks, or as they call them, bookmarks. I call them like samplers, because a little sampler and a bookmark are kind of the same thing in lace at this point to me, because most of the time I do just like a little strip of a thing as you're working through it over and over again. And so these are samplers, aka bookmarks, and you can see there's a little bookworm, book snake, and you just go through and you do basic cloth stitches, you work with the tension, you work with spacing, and I think that's really, really important. I'd say if you do this, maybe if you aren't very pleased with the spacing on your first go at a thing, just go back and redo it again. Do it again. These make great little gifties for folks. They're fun. I use the kind of tail ends of other things to make some of these. As you can see, like this starts off with a couple that are repeated from previous ones. So if you're experienced enough to keep using the lace left over, the cord left over from your previous lace thing, I'd say do that. It's kind of fun. You learn a little bit about it. I really do like too that the patterns, once you print them, actually you use most of them for more than one thing, and it's just you go to the next thing, the next project, and it's just a different stitch. So you don't have to reset your cookie pillow, you don't have to reset much. It's just, hey, you just have to do a different stitch. So you've already done the pattern, the like little snake or whatever, but you just need to reiterate and do a different stitch, essentially. This has 7 projects for you to start with, and then there are a handful of other like shawls and other things in the back. I'd say even more artsy and avant-garde projects in the back. I only focused on the projects themselves that worked on doing the stitches and the samplers. But my big tip is when you get this, read up the first part, see what supplies you need, and check out like different lace places and lace places on like Facebook. There are some lace marketplaces if you want used materials. The way that you do this, or the way that I did this at least, was there's a pattern here and you could either use tracing paper to get it off, but I just stuck this on my printer. I just stuck it on my printer and just printed off what I needed. I actually did like something a little funky, which was I got like multiple patterns and I just kind of folded the book up on the printer so that both patterns would face the printer, and then did it that way, so I'd have a couple at a time, versus just having to do them all one at a time. I don't know if other people have a problem. If you don't have a printer, RIP, so sorry. If you can do tracing paper, I think that'd be great. You can try to make like a fake light board at home, and, you know, put like your phone under like a casserole dish and put the thing on top and do tracing paper, and then transfer that. Once you print out your pattern, these are to scale, the samplers. The ones in the back you will have to change the sizing on, but the actual lace working that you're doing, the learning the different stitches, these are to scale. So I printed it on this paper, and then I taped it down to a kind of heavier cardstock that I have, and then I used an awl to poke every single hole in it. You can see here all the little pokey bits. And then it's ready to go. So that's called pricking, when you take the time to actually poke through all the places you're going to be putting your pens. Because theoretically you don't want to put your nice sewing or lacework pens through the paper and doling them. You want to put them just through a hole. You want to put them just through... Hiccups. You want to put them just through a hole into the cookie pillow. And then when your pattern is prepped, you just pin it on to your cookie pillow. I like to hold my cookie pillow like this in front of me, like this way, which means that this kind of faces up a little bit vertical. So I put the pins in vertically so that they're a little bit at an angle for me. I don't really have problems with the bobbins because they're above where the bobbins hang, so I don't have issues with the bobbins catching on them. So your bobbins will just hang here off of this, and then you go back and forth and you make your pattern. If classes are kind of outside the realm for you, I'd say getting the supplies and doing the samplers in here are a great way to get you started on not only getting comfortable with the terms and the abbreviations for stitches and for lace making, but also with other techniques and other shapes, and just reworking the same piece over and over until you get it right. So yeah, I guess that's my review for this book. I really hope that this is something that you check out if you did come here for lace work, and I've just been like not making lace tutorials because I'm not a pro, but I just enjoy making lace. If you came here for lace stuff, this is going to be your book. Until I have enough experience to feel confident in teaching you how to make lace and get into lace making. I really enjoyed it. It was really fun to work through, and it felt like a great bridging between a 101 lace class that I've done and my next thing, which is taking a little bit more advanced classes. And while you're here, check out my coffee and my Patreon, leave me a tip, check out my Patreon, and stay a while, because all tiers get access to my special Discord, the Jane Austen Avocado Toast Society.